IAS Academy.
Hello all, welcome to IAS Academy and welcome back to the program Editorial Daily, where we deal with editorial analysis which enriches your perspective and enhances your answer writing. So let's get started with our today's session. Yes, let us see the first article for today. It is not all bad between India and Pakistan. This article presents a nuanced perspective on one of the South Asian's most sensitive bilateral relationships, that is India and Pakistan. Okay, while India and Pakistan have experienced wars, terrorism, and the political hostility, the article argues that relationship has also witnessed the moments of restraints. It also seen the moments of restraints, cooperation, and the mature crisis management. Okay, so basically, India and Pakistan have had a turbulent relationship since partition from 1947. Since from 1947, we are being fighting between India and Pakistan. So major conflicts which include are the 1947 to 48, the Kashmir War, and 1965. 1965, we can say Indo-Pak War, and 1971 is the Bangladesh Liberation War, and the 1999 Kargil War also we can take. Okay, so apart from wars, terrorism, and this border tensions and the political mistrust have prevented the normal relationships. So the question raises, if the relations are so hostile, why does the author says it is not all bad? This question has to be raised in us. Basically, when we see, because even during the periods of hostility, both countries have shown the responsibility to avoid the full scale war. Okay, this is what we can answer to this question, why the author has said it is not all bad between India and Pakistan. Okay, now when coming to the article, the main argument of this article goes like, the article basically highlights the, despite several crises, both the countries have exercised the strategic restraint. They have strategic restraints, they have maintained the communication channels, they have confidence building measures, have helped to reduce the misunderstandings between both the countries, and both understand that a nuclear conflict would be a catastrophic. So, thus diplomacy has continued even during the difficult times during India and Pakistan. Okay. Yes. Let us see this article in a complete detailed way. Okay. Yes. Yes, the topic is, it is not all bad between India and Pakistan. And how can we link this article to our syllabuses? For GS paper 2, we can link it as India and its neighborhood relationships, the bilateral, regional, and groupings, global groupings, and the agreements involving in India and are affecting India interests. And for GS paper 3, also we can link this article to the internal security challenges and their management in border areas, and role of the external state and non-state actors in the creating challenges in internal security. Okay, now when we look into the context of the article, if we see, a public letter has signed by 117 eminents of Pakistan and Indian citizens have it reignited a debate on whether India should reopen for the formal dialogue with Pakistan. So, okay, so the historical evidence which shows both the nations have repeatedly demonstrated the restraint, bilateral circumspection, and the quite high level intelligence and military cooperation during the crisis. Okay, now when we look into the key takeaway from this article, which we can see is, despite the conflicts and the deep mistrust, India and Pakistan have shown the remarkable restraint and the cooperation on the several occasions. So the challenges now is to build a stable, terror free environment for the meaningful engagement. Okay, yes, and the author of the article is Tara Karta, who is the former director and National Security Council Secretariat. Okay, now when we see the wars which has yet with the restraint, we see the first one is avoidance of urban or civilian targeting. Like, despite fighting three major wars between India and Pakistan, that is between 1947, 1965, and 1971, both the militaries has made the conscious efforts not to avoid bombing on each other's cities and the civilian spaces. Okay, so next, the Ambala and the Charata anomalies. Okay, so the strikes on the church in Ambala in 1965, the Pakistan has targeted a nearby airbase. Okay, and this attack on the civilian areas in the in the Charata has near the Amritsar aimed at a radar station in the Amritsar after a ceasefire has been declared. Okay, now coming to the strict restriction to the military targets, operations were largely restricted to combat the targets and critical logistics for this oil storage sites. Okay, so the military casualties across these three wars are in India, in only these three wars, 8,211 militants have been damn, I mean, there were 8,211 casualties has been reported in India, whereas in Pakistan, approximately 15,000 casualties has been reported in these three wars. Okay, now coming to the Western contrast, if we see, unlike this massive indiscriminate area bombing by Allied forces in the WWII that destroyed the cities like Dresden and Tokyo, which is killing the thousands and hundreds of civilians, though the India and Pakistan militaries adhered strictly to conventional the battlefield doctrines. Okay, next. Coming to the fragile bridges and the quiet intelligence corporation which has been happening, in that the first one is intelligence shared post, which is 9 by 11. In 2003, what happened after the severe terror strikes and the two associations has attempted on President General Pervez Mushraf, a third plot was quietly failed using the critical intelligence which is provided by the Indian agencies. Okay, next. Post 26 by 11 back channel efforts. After the 2006 Mumbai attacks, the Pakistan president Asif Al Zardani asked the ISI chief Lieutenant General Ahmad Suja Pasha to visit Delhi and cooperate in the investigation, which is voted by the Army Chief General Asaf Parvaz Kalyani. Okay. Later, during this political transitions, PM Nawaz Sharif has reached out to PM Narendra Modi and leading to the Prime Minister Narendra Modi to surprise visit to Rhineland in December 2015. Okay. After the year of visiting of Narendra Modi to Pakistan, 2016, the Falgam attack has been taken place. Sorry, it's not Falgam attack, it is Pathankot attack in 2016. Okay, now coming to the investigating of Pathankot attack of 2016, following this Pathankot airbase strike attack in 2016, Islamabad took the unprecedented stop of registering a formal case in Pakistan to investigate the conspiracy. Okay, next. 2005 nuclear confidence building agreement, which is still being upgraded, like it is signed in 2005, the crucial agreement which remains operable till date. Okay, so the last bilateral consultation which is making held the recently as January 2026, also it has been done. Okay, next. March 2002 missile incident. On March 9th 2002, an Indian missile was accidentally fired into Pakistan during the regular routine maintenance. So the Pakistan politicians has reacted very strongly, but the army chief general, this Umar Javed Bajwa, has showed the notable restraints. So both the countries have reaffirmed their ceasefire commitments during the General Bajwa's tenure, despite India's algorithm of I mean it what abrogation of Article 370 in 2019. Okay, now coming to the damaging role of the terror syndicates, if we see, and that the first one is decoupling factor. What is this decoupling factor? While the state actors have repeatedly tried to build the fragile diplomatic bridges, non-state actors have systematically derailed these processions. So the horrific Falgam attack in 2025 stands as a recent example of how terrorism continues to halt any potential for open dialogue. Okay, now coming to the the blowback effect. What is it? The Pakistan has suffered immense domestic instability from the blowback of supporting extremist groups. So several entities is once sponsored, such as the Pakistan Taliban or the TTP, has turned directly against the Pakistani state. Okay, now Coming to the way forward, which we see for this article, the actionable strategy which we can take is clear red lines on terrorism. Clear the red lines on terrorism, like the fundamental step towards the long term stabilization, which requires the Rawalpindi, the Pakistan military establishment, to democratize a clear variable into the support for cross-border terrorism. So, without this dismantling the terror infrastructure, the political capital investment in outreach will continue to yield title returns. Okay. Now, next, when we see the focus on the quiet and non-controversial sectors, while the high stakes political dialogue remains suspended, both the nations can cooperate on shared regions and environmental crisis, and they do not carry any heavy load on the political baggages. Okay. Now, coming to the glacial melt and the climate change, when we compare with India and Pakistan, we can see managing the rapid degradation of the Himalayan glaciers. This is the one of the challenge which we can speak. Next is the agricultural challenges, like finding the joint stubble burning alternatives to combat the cross border seasonal smog. And next, nowadays, which is affecting the Delhi. Next is narcotic trafficking, like re-establishing the previous institutional channels to curb the drug trade. Okay. Next, next is the next way forward which we can look up is renegotiation of the Indus Water Treaty. Okay, which is establishing a terror free environment could eventually open a pathway for both nations to renegotiate the Indus Water Treaty. So this is essential to address the modern climate realities and ensure the mutual water security. Okay. Now, coming to the way forward of actionable strategy, if we see, first is the clearing the red lines terrorism. Let us see in a descriptive way. So, red line terrorism basically like the fundamental step towards the long term stabilization, which requires the Rawalpindi, the what you call the Pakistani military establishment, to demonstrate a clear variable end to its support for the cross border terrorism. So, without dismantling the terror infrastructure, the political capital invest in outreach will continue to yield little return. Okay. So, what is the key expectation from this clear red line of the terrorism is dismantling of terror networks and prosecution of the preparators and the verifiable action against cross-border terror groups. Okay. Next is focus on quite non-controversial sectors, like while high stakes political dialogues remain suspended, both nations can operate on the shared regional and environmental crises that do not carry the heavy political baggages, like the potential areas of cooperation which we see, the glacial melts and the agricultural challenges and the narcotic trafficking. Okay. Next, the next thing is about the Indus Water Treaty. Indus Waters Treaty, which is why it matters, means the climate change, the population growth, and the evolving water needs demand a more flexible, cooperative, and future-ready framework for the shared river management. Okay. Now, and there are few key terminologies for the UPSC exam which we can take out from this article is first is circumception. What is it? It is a wary and unwilling to take risks in international relationships. It refers to the cautious calculated avoidance of escalation between the rival states. Next is confidence building measures. What is it? It is a planned bilateral action such as the 2005 nuclear agreement designed to reduce the risk, which prevent the accidental escalations and build the mutual trust between the historically hostile states. Next, air bombing. What is it? It is an indiscriminate military strategy of dropping the explosives and incidentally bombs over an entire geographical area such as a city rather than the targeting specific military assets. Okay. Next, back channel diplomacy. What is this back channel diplomacy means? It is an unofficial, quiet or high confidential communication channels which is utilized by states to negotiate outside the glare of public media and political pressure. Next, cross border terror infrastructure. It is nothing but the network of training camps, launch pads, the funding channels and the safe havens which is maintained by the non-state actors across the international borders to launch the asymmetric strikes. Okay. Now, when we see the key takeaway from this article, history shows that India and Pakistan have demonstrated the restraint, cooperation, and maturity during the crisis. So the further depends on the future of the both the states. Depends on the eliminating the terrorism, building the quiet and issue based cooperation, and creating the conditions for meaningful peace. Okay, now peace is not just an absence of conflict, but the ability to handle it through wisdom and restraint, which is said by Anonymous. Okay, yes. Now let us see the next article. Yes. Today we will discuss another article which is an important topic and intersection of the cyber security and the critical infrastructure. The alleged data leak at the Kundakalam nuclear power point, KNN, we call it as KNPP, which is in Tamil Nadu. Okay, so this incident has raised concerns about the security of India's nuclear infrastructure, and however, it also highlighted the distinction between a data breach and a breach of operational nuclear systems. So, what happened basically is the reporters have suggested that the data related to this Kundankulam nuclear power plant was leaked after the hackers has targeted the IT systems has targeted the IT systems of the external vendor. Okay, so the leaked information which has been included the administrative and the IT related data and some of the internal documents and system details also. Okay, so however, there was no evidence of the reactor control systems, the safety systems, or the nuclear operations were compromised. Okay, so the key point in it is the leak has affected the information technology systems, not the operational technology systems. Okay, now when we understand the IT and OT systems, that information technology and the operational technology systems, information technology, these system manages the emails, the office records, the administrative databases, and the internet connected services. So these systems are more vulnerable to the cyber attacks. When coming to the operational technology, these controls the nuclear reactors, they control the cooling systems of the nuclear reactors and the safety mechanisms. So these systems are generally air gapped, and meaning they are isolated from the internet, making cyber attacks more difficult. Okay, now and this data is being available in a dark web. Okay, the leaked data. So what is this dark web? The leaked data which is that has been reportedly appeared on the dark web. Okay, a dark web is nothing but the hidden part of the internet. Dark web is the hidden part of the internet which requires the special software like tor browser tor browser. Okay, and often used for these illegal activities such as the selling, the stolen data, and the cyber crime. So, however, not everything on the dark web is illegal. It also supports some privacy and the anonymous communications also. And why do we think this incident of this leakage of this data of this nuclear power plant is important? Is although the reactor operations were unaffected, the incident highlights that the cyber threats to the critical infrastructures of are increasing, and obviously the attackers may first target the IT systems before attempting the non-sophisticated attacks. Okay, and also even administration information can be valuable for further secure cyber espionage. Okay, so therefore the cyber security is now a matter of national security. Cyber security has become the matter of national security. Okay, now we'll see this article in a detailed complete manner. Yes, the topic is how serious is Kundakulam data leak? Okay, Kundankulam data leak of nuclear power plant. Now, when coming to the context of this topic, if we see a significant data breach which is involving the operations at the Kundankulam nuclear power plant has raised the fresh concerns which is regarding the protection to information infrastructure protection in India. While the authorities has downplayed the impact on the nuclear safety, the incident has highlights the vulnerabilities which are introduced to the third-party data centers, vendors, and the corporate supply chains. Okay, now how can when we see the anatomy of the data breach, how it has happened, the incident has reports that reporters has emerged the multiple gigabyte of operational data from the Kundankulam nuclear power plant in Tirunelveli of Tamil Nadu were copied and leaked as a part of ransomware attack. Okay. Now, what is the vector of it? The vector is the breach did not occur via a direct hack of a power plant, but through the internal service. Instead, it originated from an infiltration into Reliance Infrastructure Limited, which is a part of Reliance Anil Dhirubhai Ambani's group. Okay. Next, the host and volume. When we check into it, the leaked material represents a portion of a larger 1.2 terabytes of this data set has hosted on the world leaks, a dark website which is run by the cyber crimes who leaked stolen files if the extortion ransom are not met. Okay, so within the database, 14.3 gigabytes of data specifically they pertain to Kundan Kalam's operations. Okay, now coming to the third party custodian, if we see, the compromised data was hosted on a customer management server, which is belonging to the Reliance infrastructure and managed by the Yota Data Services, which is the private Data Services Private Limited. It is a third party data service provider. Okay, the Yota has detected this infiltration on May 29th and isolated the affected file server, and it prevented a actual ransomware encryption or the lateral movement across its shared cloud platform. Okay, now this is what the anatomy of the data breach which was happened. Okay, now let us see the categorizing the leaked data, which is the nuclear safety versus the balance of plant. When coming to the official stance, which has given, the Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited has stated that the leaked files do not pertain to the core reactor operations, but which represents the most sensitive and secured layer in the nuclear power setup. Okay, now coming to the classification of the leaked material, when we classify the leaked data which has been which we have seen in the dark web, the NPCL, the Nuclear Power Corporation India Limited, has clarified that the leaked information belonged to the conventional balance of the plant, which is common service facilities according to their assessment. The files which do not relate to any core nuclear safety or the nuclear security related systems, and it consists of conventional drawings of blueprints, supplier details, meeting and inspection records, and also equipment reviews and the administrative insurance documents. Only these have been leaked into the dark web. Okay, next, coming to the insurance details also, interestingly the leaked data includes the details of $112 million insurance policy against the terrorist attacks, though the exact premium amount remains the unclear. Okay, now when we see why this leak matters, coming to the structural security implications, first is the internal panic versus the public posture. When we see, despite these public statements which are downplaying the impact, the revolutions has reportedly they sparked absolute combination among the top officials at the power plant. Okay, now coming to the strategic value of this Kundalkalam nuclear power plant, this Kundankalam is a vital hub in India's nuclear energy matrix, which is currently running two commissioned 1000 megawatts of VVER reactors built in the partnership with the Russian and Rosatom. Okay. Next, the government plans to construct 4 more such units, which would triple the site's capacity to 6 gigawatts. So, any operational intelligence leak of a facility of this scale is highly very sensitive. Okay, next. Coming to the supply chain and the third party risk, if we see, the breach has underscores that even if a state agency's core network is air gapped, so its security can be compromised via the digital footprints of its corporate the contractions, suppliers, and the insurance partners. Okay, now when we look into the key takeaway from this topic, if we see, the Kundankalam data leak is not a nuclear safety failure but a security failure in the ecosystem around the critical information infrastructure. So the incident has underscores that the securing the core is not enough. The entire digital and supply chain ecosystem must be hardened. Okay, this is the major key takeaway from this article. Now, when we see the way forward for this, coming to the policy recommendations, if we see what you called the hardening supply chain and cyber audits, hardening supply chain and cyber audits, which gives the state must mandate this strict standardized cyber security audits for all the private contractors, the engineering firms, and the third party centers like IOTA that handle the administrative or secondary operational data of critical information infrastructure. Okay, next, when we see the redefining the critical information infrastructure, which is securing only the core reactor, it is no longer sufficient. Even a balance of point, that is BOP data, is also very crucial, so that the logistic routes, the supplier details, and the structural blueprints can be combined by the hostile actors or state-backed groups to map out the physical vulnerabilities or planned sophisticated physical or cyber sabotages. So, no core data must be treated with a higher classification of security. Okay, next is the zero trust architecture in hosting the environment. How the cloud hosts and the and managed services have provides the must impact strict zero trust architectures, which ensures the complete encryption of data at rest and strict microsegmentation, so that the compromise on one enterprise customer server cannot be leveraged to gather the data for associated high security public infrastructure. This is what you call zero trust architecture in hosting the environments. Okay, these are the few key way forwards on the policy recommendations which we can tell. Okay, next, coming to the key terminologies from this article we can take up is balance of plant. What is this balance of plant? It is nothing but the supporting components and the auxiliary systems of a power plant which is needed to deliver the energy, excluding the primary generating unit, that is the nuclear reactor itself. Okay, next, critical information infrastructure. What is it? It is a computer resource, a database, or communication networks whose destruction or the compromise would have a debilitating impact on national security, economy, and the public health. Next, the third party cyber risks. What is this? This is the vulnerability which has been introduced into a organization's secure network through the external partners, vendors, suppliers, or the data custodians who have access to the metadata or systems. Okay, next, lateral movement. What is lateral movement? It is a technique which is used by the cyber attackers to systematically move deeper into a compromised network from a initial entry point to locate the high value assets and the sensitive data. Okay, next, air gapping. Air gapping is nothing but a security measure that consists of securing a computer network by physically isolating it from the unsecured network, such as the public interest. Okay, now when we look into the key takeaway from this article, the Kundan data leak is a wake up call for the nuclear security is only as strong it is weakest digital link. So, in an interconnected world and protecting critical infrastructure, which requires the holistic end-to-end security that covers not just the core but the entire digital ecosystem. Okay, so in a digital age, information is power protecting. It is not just a technical challenge by a but a strategic imperative for the national security, which is told by Arun Deep. Okay. And yes, these are the two articles which we have discussed today. One is about the Kundalkalam nuclear power plant data leak, and the India-Pakistan bilateral talks. Okay, which has to be reopened. This is what we have seen for today. Okay. Yes, I hope everyone liked this video. To have a complete PDF of this article, of these two articles, do visit our website and download it from there. And do like, share, subscribe, and follow our YouTube channel. And however, do follow our Instagram and Telegram ID as well for your UPSC preparations. And yes, I'll see you all soon tomorrow with another editorial analysis. Thank you.